Well, hello there, and welcome to what we hope will be a long-running podcast series between myself, Euan Williams, and my friend here, Maximilian Knocker. Today we're going to be discussing a wide variety of issues about our personal lives, also stories in the news and things that interest us. So we're just going to start it off by being slightly random and trying to come up with a name for this podcast because I think that's important.
Okay, so Euan, tell me, why should anybody listen to us?
You should listen to us because I think that for a long time in history, the white middle class male has been undervalued and not listened to enough in the world. So I think it's time that our segment of the population, underrepresented minority, got a chance to speak ourselves and be more heard more clearly throughout the world. So I think this is our opportunity.
I couldn't agree more.
It's nice to see that we're on the same level here with this because it'd be really,
We're both white, middle class kids.
And I think our voices aren't heard often enough, and hopefully this podcast is an opportunity to recorrect that wrong in society. And
God, I already feel bad.
So should we start it off with
coming up with a name, like you
coming
said,
up with a name.
Good place to start.
I mean, what?
It would have been good to come up with a list of possible suggestions
for
us, but
we're not that prepared. We're not that prepared because we want to be we want to be random to some extent, and so if we were too prepared, it would seem scripted.
Well, you say that, but the untold story here is that we made a plan, and then due to scheduling issues, we delayed, and then the plan was outdated. So,
it's still pretty well planned, I think. But yes, we did have that problem. So, I guess to answer this question of what we should name this podcast, I think the best way to go about it is to start off with asking what is the aim of the podcast, and other questions around that.
Well, what is the aim of the podcast?
I think to explore issues that don't get as much attention and to put a light on things that are interesting.
I think, because you're English, right? And the English love their self-deprecating humor. I think it should be maybe something along those lines, that we're not taking ourselves too seriously.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean?
So pretentious that it clearly isn't intentional. It clearly is.
Yeah, either that or we go to the other direction. It's like, the uninteresting part.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Okay.
I feel like, the podcast doesn't start off very well if we're just sitting down thinking.
Yeah, we're like,
I think what this
is yeah, no, you're right.
Should we have a sort of 3-minute window and then come back to the listeners with some actual
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
No, don't pause it yet. Don't pause it yet.
Okay.
Because we can cut this out, can't we? No, you're right. We shouldn't. Okay, so names for podcasts. Boring. We're looking for synonyms with that are ironic. So, boring, uninteresting, dull.
Well, I don't know.
We don't. No, we don't. But I'm just gonna follow this down the rabbit hole to see where it takes us.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna open my dictionary thesaurus.
Okay. Dull, dreary. The dreary. We could use alliteration.
Alliteration. Dull, dreary, dry.
Dull, dreary, and dry. There's no way that's been taken already. The Dull, Dreary, and Dry podcast. And you could just call it Dull, Dreary, and Dry.
How about the nondescript?
The nondescript. So that gives us a pretty wide brief.
Yeah, even the nondescript.
The nondescript. The indistinctive. Les inconnus.
French again. What's our policy on swearing, by the way?
Do you want to put beeps over it?
We should get that in. Honestly, I don't mind.
I don't mind.
And I think bleeps is a
yeah, I know exactly. I don't want to do that. No, I think swearing is okay, but not in moderation. Very emphasis on in moderation. I don't want effings thrown about like they're, confetti. We just want it No confetti
no
swearing. Because that would just be it's just painful to people's ears, isn't it? They don't want to hear that kind of language. It's just not pleasant, is it? So
The
no, that sounds very unappealing. That sounds very I think the indescript, I kind of like that. Nondescript.
Nondescript, I think. The nondescript. It sounds a bit like a restaurant, you know?
So that's option 1. Let's go to 3 options and then we can discuss it further. So the nondescript.
Okay, so we have a restaurant name.
The dull, dreary, and dry. Dull, dreary, and dry. It's an exercise just to say it. So yeah, let's keep dull, dreary, and dry. Yeah.
Are you writing?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
What is this? Quotidian.
What else?
The car sped off through the quotidian traffic.
Quotidian. In French, that means daily.
Yes, this is correct. That's what it means. That's some SAT level
There you go.
vocab.
See, learning French is so useful for English because you wouldn't know that otherwise.
Maybe we should go into a different direction now, as opposed to
the ironic. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we say it's ironic.
we do hopingly say it's ironic.
Maybe something related to who we are, because I think that's a bit of what the podcast is about, isn't it? Because it's about our interests, right?
What do we call it? Third culture kids?
I was gonna say it good, but I don't like it. Yeah. Okay.
So in French, I know I hate to go back to French again, but there's this word which means foreigner, but it also means outsider, and it means like all of these things, and it's and it also means stranger as well. It's the word is les étrangers, and it means foreign, outsider, stranger. It means all of these words into one word. So you could use that potentially. I don't know if we want to use les étrangers. It's just an option. I'll put it down.
I mean, it's a bit ironic because we are saying that, and yet we are both right now one English kid living in England.
Yes, we are doing that. But that's what's so affecting. That's affecting. But this is like so important because despite living in our own countries now, like you could argue that we are, like I would say, I have fewer like things to do here than I would like where I've lived in the past. So like I could almost say like I felt sort of foreign when I lived in Asia, but when I come back I also don't quite feel like I'm just a normal British person anymore either. So I could say that I am, wherever I go, I'm an étranger. I could say that. I mean, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but
yeah, I like the idea, but it almost seems like a bit cliche.
Yeah, yeah, no.
But I do like the idea of saying something about that sort of.
I'll put it down. I'll put it down as number. I'll put it down.
Do put it down.
Yes. Okay.
How about something like relating to the fact that it's two people, maybe like.
Okay.
I don't know. Duology.
Two Guilos.
Duerty. Yeah, the Guilo. I like Guilo. The Guilo podcast.
Oh. Guilopoly. It's a mash of the words Guilo and Monopoly because there's only Guilos in the podcast, so it's a monopoly of Guilos.
Yeah, we are.
And also the word duopoly, which is when two companies dominate the market. You could say Guiopoly is a knock-on of two.
Well, but you can't say the lopoly stands for.
No, but it could be either. It could be either, and therefore.
It could be either. But it could be anything because
it's just a suffix. That's true. Guiloopoly. Guiopoly. How would that even be spelt? Guiopoly, like
Guilopoly.
that. Guilopoly.
The White Ghost.
The White Ghost podcast. I don't know, the foreign devils.
Two white ghosts.
It means foreign devil, I think.
And we think Donald Trump is bad.
So that's pretty. So something to do with Guaylo. I'm potentially thinking of mishmash words between two and Guaylo. Guaiduo, like that. It's actually apparently a word according to Google. It hasn't put a red. Oh, there it is. There it is. Guaiduo.
Let's see, Guaylo. How do you write that again?
Gweilo. Lo. Yeah.
Okay. Guaylots.
Guaylots.
Guaylotcast.
Guaylocast. I like that, actually. I do like that. Guaylocast.
Yeah. Thing is, I don't really identify with Guaylo because nobody in Singapore uses that term.
Okay. Okay, we'll put it down. Well, let's have one more option. Okay, so we've got Guaylocast, Les Étrangers, Nondescript, Dull, Dreary, and Dry.
I think the more we say that, the less we're gonna.
Yeah, it's just too negative, I think. But we're gonna have it there as a joke. Nondescripts.
The Run-On podcast. Run-On sentence.
What about Eurasian Persuasion?
Eurasian Persuasion.
Because
that sounds like a cocktail.
Because we're European but Asian. And therefore there's a persuasion there. Nah, Eurasian.
It sounds like sort of like a preference. Like if you really like Asian girls, but you're from Europe, Eurasian Persuasion. I don't know. It could mean too many things.
Now that you've said that, I definitely don't like the idea. Let's try. Alright, I like the four names we got. I know we're going to have to pick one of them, which...
that doesn't excite me very much.
Doesn't excite me very much. It could be a temporary name. It could be like an acting name, as it were. Subject to change.
See, the thing is, this is the problem. we need to grow large enough that we can make our listeners do everything.
Yeah.
We can say, put something in the doobly-doo comments.
Yeah.
And then we just
Yes. So we have to be original enough to make it that far.
Yeah. Step 1, become famous on YouTube.
Yeah.
Step 2, make a podcast.
Step 3, just do the podcast.
Exactly.
It's okay. We're just doing it for fun, Max.
Of course. It would be so much easier though if you were just instantly successful.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it just? I mean, why is the world like that? Why can't everyone just be instantly successful? Okay, we're going with this, okay? And for now, let's say we're not going to pick a name, but at some point in the future, we will pick a name potentially along the inspirations of one of these.
I've got an idea. How about we call it the Placeholder Name Podcast? And then every week we go through a suggestion and pick it apart.
Until eventually we get somewhere. So for now it's going to be called a place...
Or it can be like a run-on joke that we...
Never name it.
Never like any of the names and never pick anything.
Okay. So we're calling it a no-name podcast?
The Placeholder Name Podcast.
A Placeholder Name Podcast.
The Lorem Ipsum Podcast. Like in brackets.
Loris wait, what's the font name?
Lorem Ipsum Dolossi Ahmed, I think.
Lorem Ipsum.
I looked through this. There is actually an equivalent of a Chinese character, Lorem Ipsum.
Really? Just for that?
That exists, yeah.
Well,
again, like if you make I think the background is that in web development, if you're making a website and you're just worrying about the design, you need to have text So that's why they have the lorem ipsum, and it's designed in such a way that it isn't jarring, because random letters are actually jarring.
Right. So the lorem ipsum is chosen as the default font, are you saying? Because it's the...
No, it's not a font. It's not a font. It's text.
Oh, okay.
It's like a sequence of words that are
Oh,
taken from
yeah, sorry.
Cicero's text or something.
So...
Good stuff.
So, and they choose these particular letters in this particular order because it is the least jarring, and it just demonstrates...
Well, because it looks like words, but they're not actually words. So they don't distract you because they're actual words you can read. But they also don't jar you by being random jumbles of letters.
So it's not Latin then?
No, it's like jumbled Latin.
And the Chinese is just a symbol that also means nothing, therefore...
Again, I'm not entirely sure how it works. I didn't read through the link. I mean, this is classic, like, I read the headline.
TLDR.
TLDR, yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds interesting.
But again, I mean, all those Chinese web developers, they have to deal with it too, don't they?
Yeah.
The same problem.
I mean, that's... Well, there are loads of characters in Chinese, like, there are thousands, and a lot of them have gone out of favour. So you could probably just dig up some old ones, people could read them. They could read them, but they wouldn't understand them. In the same way, there's words, like, there's loads of symbols in Chinese to people that don't know.
The logistics of this must be quite difficult, actually.
Let's just be glad we have a Latin letter language that we use, because it's so much easier.
Exactly,
So-
you don't have to come up with your own.
Symbol. You just had to, like, dug up somewhere. It does sound pretty rough.
Alright, good stuff. What's next on the agenda, Mr.
Well,
Euan?
it's going to university, isn't it? Because that has to be the most...
Oh yeah, speaking of which, I actually finally got my accommodation letter.
And...
Yeah, so basically a month before you actually start going there, they finally give you any information about your accommodation.
Yeah, because it feels like when you finally get your offer to university, you know, like a whole, like, 10, in our case, like 2 years before we actually go to university, but in most people's case, about 9 months, 10 months, that you get the offer, and then you don't know what's going to happen because they literally don't contact you, and you sometimes even doubt if you're actually going to the university because it's such a big thing. I mean, we actually both went to boarding school, so for us it's not even that big a deal living away from home because we've already done that. But for most people, this is the first time they'll ever live away from home, and all they hear are these general, like, untailored emails that say, like, are you looking forward to going to university? And they don't actually answer.
I never got an email like that.
Oh wow, well that's because I go to, you know, like a... Yeah, you go to Cambridge, so like, they won't send you anything.
Correspondence that
I don't
got from
care.
University after about a year of my gap year was the financial guarantee form to tell them that I had enough money to make it through the year and that I didn't need financial help.
Oh, so that was it the entire time.
Arguably the most important, but still.
Still, it's just it just shocks me how little they send you. And, like, I have to chase them. Like, I still don't know. At least you know your accommodation. I don't know my accommodation. I applied for it ages ago. I don't know most of my reading list.
Oh, no. I got the letter I got about the accommodation was the application form.
What now?
Yes.
So you've only just been able to apply?
Yes, and the deadline is 7th of September or something along those lines.
What? And you can't... Can you not do it online?
Yes, it is an online
thing. It's an online thing. Still, that is just crazy that they leave it so late. Because...
Yes, and by the way, I don't know when I need to show up.
Yeah, that's another thing.
I mean,
that is another thing.
For all of those people who have to book flights,
there's no email that says this is the start date. On your UCAS thing, it has a start date, right? But that is not the
start of the term.
But that is not the start. That is not the day you arrive because
freshers happens before.
No, but for me, it's actually later than the start date.
What?
Because for me, as far as I'm aware, what they've said is apparently this is something my parents have seen, not me. But apparently they want people to arrive on different days based on their surnames so they can process them more easily. So they want people with surnames. They want people with surnames A to like H or something to come on the 1st of October, and then they want people with the surnames in the latter half of the alphabet, i.e. me because I'm Williams, to come on the 2nd of October. So, like. But this is dumb because it doesn't say that anywhere. Like only my parents know that. I don't know that. It doesn't say.
Well, I mean, they must have gotten a letter or something.
Yeah,
if they do know.
But
it, so
I don't know. It was a lot of them trawling around, websites and all the websites are out of date. They're all like are you starting university in 2015? Well, no, I'm not. I'm starting university in 2016, and it's just like everything's out of date, nothing's prepared. It all seems like it's never going to happen, and you're not actually going, but it is. And it's also last minute, but whatever.
Again, I don't understand how they manage to do all that quickly. That they say, okay, we'll give you all the information in September.
Yeah.
And then we start processing.
Because whenever I contact them, they're just like, chill out, man, chill out. It's all happening. It's all happening.
You actually contacted them.
Well, because I contacted them about accommodation because all of my friends, have got their accommodation and I don't. So I thought it was some weird thing. But they said no, it happens after A-level offers, then after clearing, and after all of that.
Yes, this is the one thing. The A-level offers come out so late that they don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
For us, we have the perspective. Oh, they could have sent me this a year ago.
Yeah.
Because my offer is unconditional.
Mm. Yeah.
But I guess it's not like that for most people.
I mean, I guess I can't really complain because it actually benefited me because I actually changed my course, like in.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I changed from politics and history to history and French, so I could do that so late. I literally did that in like June, even like July.
Oh, wow.
So I guess the fact that it was they're so late, laissez-faire about it until the A-level results that you can just do as someone with like an unconditional offer, you can just sort of play around with it.
The interesting thing is, right, you spent a year in France, now you're doing your history and French course, and then still you said laissez-faire in the most English way.
Because I was saying it in English.
Laissez-faire.
Because I find it, because I try not to do it too much, but when I do use French and English, I try to say it in the English way, because if I say it in the French way, I sound like a prat, and if I do it correctly, it's fine. Well, I still sound like a prat, but if I don't do it in the French, if I slightly get it wrong, it sounds even worse. So I just say it in the most British way possible. Je voudrais un crêpe s'il vous plaît.
The low risk strategy.
And all that.
Yeah.
The low risk. Yeah.
Well,
when I speak French, it's French, but because all these sayings.
Laissez-faire is one of those exceptions where I think people do expect people to say it in the proper way. Don't know. Anyways, university.
Okay. Yeah. University. We're still excited about it, by the way.
Still excited, obviously. One thing I am excited about now is getting a school bag. This is the big project of this summer. is buying.
Oh really? Have you got it down to like 10 options or something? Have you been trawling?
Well, I have approximately 17 tabs open.
What?
Which I was looking around in before you called me.
What?
I don't know. I think it's a big choice because it's your number one accessory tool for moving things around for probably at least 2 years while at university. It's a big decision.
Are we talking like a backpack here or a shoulder bag? What, are we talking about something bigger?
Yes, of course. This is the other question. I mean, should you go for the old messenger bag or the backpack?
Because the thing is, at Sevenoaks I had at our last school, the school we both attended, I had a shoulder bag. But actually, I think for university I'm going to have a backpack. Because shoulder bag is kind of cool, but a bit 1950s. So I'm thinking, backpack, release the buckles all the way down. Cool kid. No, because you gotta see how much the straps can loosen. That's one of your criterion when you're looking for it.
There are many criteria, but about the great debate, I will say that the shoulder bags, they were the thing maybe a year or two ago. I think the backpack has made a resurgence.
It definitely has.
And I was told by my top fashion advisors back then that only primary school children still had backpacks, which ended up being completely false. And I do prefer the backpack, so it was. Yeah.
Besides, you can always wear the backpack only one strap on.
Yeah, classic strategy.
So the backpack has more flexibility. The shoulder bag's always a shoulder bag, but the backpack, it sort of can change.
Yeah.
So
I think that gives you a bit of a sense about like what my university preparation is looking like. I did get homework, by the way, for my university.
Oh, didn't you get that like last year or something?
I did get it last year, but of course I didn't do it because I ended up deferring.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it the new version this time.
Oh.
So actually, I do need to learn new stuff before I get there even.
Wow.
So for example, we didn't do any matrices in the higher level IB course in mathematics, but now I need to know it.
So you've got to learn. You've got to self-teach yourself several things.
Well, they give you some links to look at, which are some notes.
Right. So do you feel underprepared going in with your post-16 qualification, or do you feel like you're going to be fine with what you've got?
I don't feel like my education is limiting me. I just feel rusty. I feel like not. This is, I think,
that's gap year
something to talk
syndrome.
about maybe because that's gap year, right? And I do feel like my academics have slipped like so much. If I compare myself to exam level preparation to now, it's just I just feel like so woefully.
Yeah.
I just feel really bad.
I feel like that is one of the things that almost put me off doing a gap year, was just that fear of, will I be able to still do the same things when I come back? will I become a complete caveman, or will I still be able to do what I need to do at university? I think you gain so much from the gap year that although you get some, you'll be a bit behind when you start because you're less fresh than everyone else from school, but you can still, I think. Yeah, and you're also, the main thing is the work ethic as well. I think that slips a lot as well in gap year, which is basically a holiday for the whole time in terms you don't have, you might do some work experience, or you might, in your case, you were working, but you might, it's not the same. You might,
for 8 months, 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me.
Okay, fine. This doesn't apply to you, but to a lot of gap year students who spent their months volunteering in the Amazon rainforest, I can tell you, people, that you are not ready for the amount of work you will have to do at university. But that's okay, because you're gonna get back into it. But yeah, Max doesn't have that problem because he can adjust very easily because he's probably working more. You're probably working more. You were working more this year than you will at university probably because.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's like again the difference is that you have so many holidays.
Yeah.
I think during the time you end up working more, because one of the big differences about working, what I noticed was that as soon as you get home, you can just forget about everything.
Yeah.
There was no such thing as homework or things like
that. That is very dependent on what job you're doing, though.
Yes, this is true. But for my stuff, I very rarely had a deadline that I need to finish really, really quickly. Sometimes I did have to work after hours just to finish it, but for like an intern, why would you do that? Why would that be the case?
Yeah. No, okay.
So in school, I think you actually do, while you're working, you work more hours.
Yeah.
Potentially. I mean, I've been actually watching like these vlogs from another Cambridge University student, as well as reading pretty much everything there is to read, daily, like a day in the life of a student, whatever. And they have like 4 lectures a day sometimes.
Oh, really?
And things like that, yeah. As well as like 4 supervisions a week. Oh. So I think it can actually be quite intense.
No, I think
even in comparison to working life, I mean.
Yeah, but again, as we said, it's intense periods followed by extremely long holidays. So
I mean, honestly, I was quite disappointed when I heard how short the terms were. Because 8 weeks is not a long time.
I know, our university year, I think, is only 9 months at university, perhaps less than that. So we spend 4 years, both our degrees are 4 years, but it's more like, 2.5 really, because of the 2.5, 3, because of the actual amount of time we'll be spending there. I think it's going to go very quickly indeed. 8 weeks the first term.
I mean, at the very least, in my course and where I'm going, I have a lot of contact hours. So actually I'm, sitting, hearing, listening things that people say. But if I look at, especially my sister, I think at some point wanted to apply to UCL. And they have single-digit contact hours a week. And then if you add the holidays to that, you're basically sitting to use you're paying to use a university-wide intranet with videos probably or whatever. I don't know.
Something rubbish. Yeah. So yeah, I guess both of our courses have like quite high contact hours, because now that I'm doing French, I'm going to get a lot more than I would have done, because that course involves like lessons rather than lectures. So
Are you doing something like a year in France as well?
yeah, so I say 4 years. I say 4 years, but it's really 3, and then a year in a French-speaking country. So I could go to the Caribbean, but
Nice.
but I don't know. I think I should just go to France and play it safe, because I don't want to pick up some weird French accent. Possibly. It's so far down the line. That's the thing. You don't know. There's no point saying now, because you're probably gonna change your mind.
I remember when I was doing my internship, people actually started asking me what I wanted to do after university.
Oh, no.
I mean, crazy. How can I answer that question?
No. Because whatever you have in your head now won't be the same when you leave. So.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Well, I guess medical students have to know, don't they? Because they have to know that they're going to become a doctor when they do that degree. Otherwise, they're wasting 7 years if they don't. So.
Well, it's like, I remember Nigel was saying this.
Yeah.
A mutual friend of ours who studies medicine.
Yeah.
That, I mean, a lot of people do go into consulting.
Yeah.
Consultancy.
So it does give you options, but it's a much longer degree.
I really dislike that, by the way. I know the amount, like, you see those statistics all the time with the amount of engineering students that end up going into investment banking. I mean, how is it not possible to design a real investment banking course which prepares people for that specific job better than a maths or physics or engineering course?
Wouldn't it seem like one of those really modern sort of media study like degrees that people wouldn't take seriously though?
Yeah, the thing is, what I feel like is that the people who actually want to do investment banking are not the best people to do investment banking. So you need to get the people who want to do maths and physics
the source out.
And then have them gain the problem solving skills and then interest them in all the money and then get them in.
Yeah. So you don't like the way the current system works?
I don't like that people are learning all of this stuff that qualifies them to do a certain job, and then they end up. And then, I mean, it's okay that you choose whatever job, but then that such a large proportion of people end up going into these business-like degrees.
Yeah.
Jobs, I mean, from these STEM degrees. It's just, I mean, I don't know. It sort of rubs me the wrong way.
I can understand that. It does seem a bit odd the way that one degree.
I guess what a comparison might be, you know, a history and French student probably isn't going to work in history, the field of history, or in the field of French.
No.
If that is even
if there is a field of French, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that's the thing.
Enough,
Humanities degrees don't, like, when you take a humanities degree, you're taking it because you aren't good at, well, probably because you aren't good at science, but also probably because you either don't know what you want to do, or you're just doing the subject because you enjoy that subject, right? That's the case for me. So you're just doing something you enjoy and that possibly that you're good at as well. And so you're hoping it will give you as many options as possible when you do a humanities degree. Whereas other degrees like medicine, there's complete antithesis of medicine, for example, where it is specific to a job. That's the last thing you want in a humanities degree. You don't do a history degree because you want to be a history teacher. You do it because it gives you options. At least you hope it does. So that's the difference. I think degrees like maths and science and stuff like that, those degrees give you more options because they open you up to a whole new field, which requires that kind of skill. So I think
actually that is actually the reason why I chose engineering over physics.
Because it's so much more general and broader, isn't it?
Engineering and physics, you learn the same, not the same, but you learn maths, physics groundwork. You learn how to solve problems analytically. Then you get the added bonus of actually getting the opportunity to become an engineer, as opposed to physics, which is then more continue in academia.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely gives you more options, I think, so it's better in that sense. All right.
Shall
Yes.
we have a look what's next on the agenda?
Let's go. I think we've covered that topic well.
Maybe, we should at some point come up with a great way to transition between segments.
A little sound.
A little jingle.
Do 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 do.
Do do da 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 da.
That's
It's already too long. Okay, what's the next one?
Okay, next up, we are doing. Are we going to talk about the Rio Olympics, or are we going to go on to US elections? We have a lot of choice, actually.
Wow, incredible choice. I think about the Olympics. We should just each say that.
Let's each make a statement.
not really-
Let's each make a statement on the Olympics. This will take 2 minutes. Let's go.
The official Max statement on the Olympics is that I don't think they're worth talking about. I think it's not a topic that interests me enough to warrant being
Okay, can I make my statement?
talked about here.
I'll make my statement. Yes! Boom! Come on! Yes, Team GB. Well done, guys. We've won it, basically, because, we're just amazing. We didn't beat the US.
And because the Russians didn't get to participate.
Well, they never normally do that well anyway. We beat
They
China.
usually had a.
We beat the largest nation in the world in terms of GDP and in terms of population. So that's pretty impressive. In terms of the actual venue, Rio itself, there were a lot of protests going up to the games. There were a lot of people doubting Rio, saying golfers were pulling out left, right, and centre because they're afraid of this Zika virus. That was an issue coming out to the games, and there was these scientists saying that you shouldn't even host the Rio games there, and it should be put on hold. Well, that didn't happen, did it? And actually, none of these problems really manifested themselves, and so I think the games just, as soon as the game started, really, all this stuff sort of disappeared into the blue. We then had this swimmer who had got into a bit of an American swimmer who got into a bit of a few problems, and he got in trouble for that. So that was sort of the high point of the games in terms of the off the track sort of stuff. But I think overall it was quite a good games, and I think Rio should be happy with their performance as a host.
Sorry, I zoned out a bit then.
Yeah, that's okay. Well,
It doesn't fit on the headline. That doesn't.
no, I want to
But
go.
I feel like I want to say a bit more about it now because I did read in an article about it from the German perspectives, like the German head of the sort of sports association, and basically they immediately started blaming the worldwide phenomenon that is doping for the fact that German athletes don't do as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know why? Do you know why?
Because especially in things like track and field, we really don't do very well. But then in things like shooting, horse riding, we do very well, where it's a bit less of a factor.
Oh, I see. Where the human itself is less relevant.
What? How is the human less?
Well,
relevant
like
in shooting
because
than in jumping?
well, like the
You're talking
doping,
about the
doping,
physical
yeah,
body.
yeah, like doping will not help you as much in these sports. Like, how is doping going to help you in shooting?
There's probably some guy taking ADHD. Probably still happens. I don't know. I feel like that's always a big issue with competitions like this. Even going up to football and anything competitive.
So much money in it.
Is that how? Well, there's money. There's national pride. How do you stop doping? I mean, is it even possible?
I mean, I remember one argument being that you should just allow it, and then it's a level playing field.
Yeah, but it's unhealthy.
No, it is, exactly. You don't want athletes to risk their lives just because everyone else is.
Well, I guess they do that anyways by spending, the ages 12 to 28
Yeah.
completely focused on sports.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think doping should become common practice, because that would just ruin it. I think to stop it completely, it's very difficult to do. I think you can just increase the punishment and sort of repel people from doing it as much as possible. But it's impossible to say how many golds this year were won by dopers, is it? Because we don't know yet.
No, but the thing is also that because individual countries are themselves interested in having their own athletes win, why would they want to control their own athletes? So who has the authority to come into any nation and say, okay, you need to piss in a cup?
The IOC.
Yeah, it just seems, there are so many countries that you would need to check, and so many. It seems like a huge operation.
Yeah, that is. I think
At least the Tour de France, it's a bit smaller than, every sport ever out there. under the sun.
I think each sport has its own committee as well. A lot of bureaucrats do work in the Olympics, So I'm sure there are enough bureaucrats to sort it out. But
there are never enough bureaucrats.
Yeah, there could be more. So maybe it won't happen.
Another topical thing about the Olympics, by the way, there was that, again, this is one of those, hashtag only read the headline moments.
TLDR.
But, TLDR. That woman with the really weird hormone levels and testosterone, and whether or not she should be allowed to run with the women.
I did not see this. So because she's got male levels of testosterone, they're saying she should not be allowed to run with women.
Yes, exactly.
I think the only fair way to decide whether a woman can run with women is if they're a woman or not. So surely that's just, she's still a woman, right? So she still gets to run.
Yeah, but okay, let's say I'm a male and I get what is it?
A sex change?
A sex change. Okay. I mean, that doesn't count because that would be unfair.
But then that's very closed-minded and against the transgender nation. So
well, it would be closed-minded, but it would basically drive women out of sports.
If there were just a bunch of transgender people dominating sport, you're saying, who
yes,
people,
because they would have no chance.
Men who just got sex changes to women, just for the Olympics.
Well, I mean, maybe you could change back afterwards.
That sounds extremely unnecessary.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of money in the Olympics, as you say.
Oh my god, nah.
I mean, what is the price? Some nations actually pay in the millions, don't they?
What nations to athletes?
Yes.
I don't think the nations pay. I think the sponsorships you get.
No, they do. Nations do pay their athletes for wins.
For wins?
And medals, yeah.
Really? I thought it just meant you got more sponsoring. I mean, I know in the...
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, if you're doing, Olympic archery, I don't think there's much sponsorship money there, but I think they do. I think it's in Germany, it's sort of a bit over 100,000.
For a gold or something like that?
Maybe just a medal, I'm not sure.
What?
Citation needed.
That seems like a lot of... I know the way in the UK it works...
There are some nations that do pay in the millions. I think it's Japan or Korea. I don't know.
All I know is from the UK it works is they fund a specific sport and that money gets distributed between the athletes, and that's funded through the national lottery, which is why we're so successful, because that brings in a lot of money. And then with that money, if the athletes win, they'll get sponsorships for their next Olympics or whatever they're doing next, and that will get them their actual personal income. But I'm sure the national lottery fund also does go and each athlete will probably get £28,000 a year, something like that, to live on. It won't be a lot unless they're successful. They won't get a lot.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, again, I feel like if that were the case, that you could do to the sex change thing, there would be people who do it. It would be a thing. Anyways, out of the controversial area.
Yeah.
Of transgender people.
And onto the non-controversial area of Donald Trump.
Beautiful translation.
There you go.
Segues.
There you go. Well, this is
we're already professional.
This is a new story because recently a British politician by the name of Nigel Farage, who some of the listeners may be familiar with, he is the lead.
Excuse me, it's Farage.
Sorry, yes. Did I say Farage?
No, you said Farage, I think.
What am I supposed to say? Farage?
I have no idea. Just keep
okay. Anyway, he says Farage, so I'm going to say it how he says it. He is the leader of the UK Independence Party, the party that was in favour of the UK leaving the European Union, has since won that referendum. And he recently gave a speech in America where he shared a platform with Donald Trump. He did not endorse Donald Trump. I should enforce that because he didn't want to get into the trap of endorsing Donald Trump. However, he did speak on a stage where he encouraged people to vote for Donald Trump, but that he did not endorse him. Okay.
Of course not.
He didn't endorse him.
That would be improper.
He didn't endorse him, but he did stand on the same stage with him, and he encouraged people to vote for him. I don't know what that's not endorsing, but whatever. And he basically said that the same kind of political motions or mechanisms that created the vote to leave in the UK are the same mechanisms and motions that will cause people in America to vote for Donald Trump. And
arguably that's right.
I think that is right.
Lots of people have made those connections.
I think that is right.
But I thought Nigel Farage wanted to have his life back. Why is he back out there making political speeches?
I think he finds it difficult. After all these years, he's struggling to retire. Maybe he'll make a surprise appearance in the UKIP leadership contest again. He's back again, but he's still going to be in the European Parliament as well. So he's definitely not quite taken a back seat yet. But he's going out to America. I think he just enjoys it. It seems kind of weird that he's still going at it, seeing as he did make it quite clear that he wanted to stop. But whatever, let him at it.
Yeah.
And so he supported Donald Trump, who is going up against Hillary, and so we don't know what's going to happen. But apparently,
and Gary Johnson.
Oh right, yeah.
And Jill Stein.
Oh, you know all the third parties, do you?
Well, those are the two bigger ones, I think. And then there's Evan McLaughlin.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him.
That's such a weird. that's a real meme. This guy.
They have a chance. Do they have a chance this time? I mean, both the candidates are quite bad from like a.
Well, I think the only one who does have a chance is Gary Johnson because I don't know if you know this, but the big thing, at least that the Libertarian Party, which is the party that Gary Johnson is.
Oh wait, he's the Libertarian one.
He's a Libertarian, exactly. Is that in order to have a chance at winning the election, and they need to make the presidential debates, which is basically like a 200 million American audience.
Yeah, that's crucial because if you're not on that in that debate,
if you're not on there, you have no.
You're
chance.
Not a candidate, essentially.
Yes, and guess who the committee is that is running the presidential debates, or who are they comprised of?
The Libertarian Party executives or something.
No. The Democrats and the Republicans
so
are the ones running.
So there's no chance of any third party ever...
No, they do have a rule which states that any candidate which has, in an average of polls, above 15%...
15%?
15%.
That's a very high threshold.
Exactly, that is a high threshold, and that's the one that, if any third party candidate does make that number, I think anything might be possible.
Yeah, but that'd be insane for a third party to be polling at 15%.
It is insane, but at currently I think an average is Gary Johnson is like maybe 7%, 8%, and in some polls he's even above 10.
That's pretty good, to be fair.
Which is
considering the absolute blackout.
They have basically no money.
Yeah.
And they're not red or blue.
My question would be though, is the Libertarian Party, from my understanding of it, politically placed to beat either of the candidates? Because aren't they quite a right-wing party?
I think they would normally not be, but the candidate they have is. I mean, he says basically that they're fiscally conservative, which the right wing likes. So he says, okay, we might cut Medicare, Medicaid entitlements.
Yeah.
But he also says we can cut the military. And then socially, being liberal, the left wing quite likes. So he says, for example, that marijuana should be legal. That same-sex marriage should be legal, that people should be able to make choices, so he's pro-choice as well. So I think it does appeal to quite a lot of people in the end.
Isn't it going to be that he is simply too left-wing socially for the majority of America, which is, well, not the majority, but a large group, which is quite socially conservative, and his fiscal conservatism is only going to be disadvantageous as well, because it won't appeal to the really spurging young people who are like really left wing or that kind of group, and it won't appeal to it will appeal to the socially conservative who are probably also fiscally conservative, but it's not going to appeal. His package as a whole doesn't appeal to any group because there aren't many libertarians.
You're saying the negative will not appeal.
No, I'm just saying
but then,
there's no voter.
It's crisscrossed, right?
Yeah.
So you could argue exactly the opposite.
You could.
Says that he has appeal from all
What
sides.
I'm saying is his package. There's no voter that likes everything he's saying, but there's some voters.
Same thing with the Democrats and the Republicans.
But not to this, and not so extreme though. It's like the opposite. He wants the opposite. They want two opposites. They're socially liberal and economically conservative, and that will appeal.
Okay, let me make an argument here for because this is because I've been quite interested and I've listened to a bit of what he says, and he's very good at keeping on message. He never answers any questions. He just sort of keeps repeating
David Cameron style.
The same positions. Yeah, it's actually very well done on his part. But I think the way that they want to attract all the left-wing voters is to say that, okay, number one, he says that on the, the isidewith.com thing where you answer multiple questions and then you get like out which candidate you want.
Right. I had this in the UK.
So his strategy is by saying, he says basically when he does it, he sides with himself 100%, of course, and then with Bernie Sanders 75%. So he says, I am with Bernie Sanders 75% on policy.
That's a good message, isn't it?
That's a good message. And then he's also saying that he wants to appeal to people who are pissed off about inequality by saying, okay, we're not going to tackle inequality by taking away from one and giving to the other, but we're going to tackle it by creating opportunity equality and equity, right?
That's the...
And he says that the best way to do that is through free market, like real free market. He says that he wants to fight against crony capitalism.
Always a popular stance.
So I think he does appeal to those, appeal to a very broad range of people, and then whether or not the actual policy positions are maybe even completely opposite from somebody like Bernie Sanders, I think a lot of the people who support that, they support the problem be solved, but then they might change their minds on which solution could be best.
Yeah, I think the way you told me, you just explained it, I think it sounds like he's marketing it very well, and therefore, and the way he's made it, he might make it very appealing, and therefore he could potentially, if he gets enough exposure, could do well.
Also, another thing, he is, or was before his candidacy, he was a governor, a Republican governor, and then afterwards was the CEO of a marijuana company in Colorado, I think.
Is that why marijuana is legal?
Yes.
Right.
So there's another thing that he can appeal to young voters on, especially about the socially liberal part.
Right. So he's got the track record to be both supported by Republicans and supported by younger.
Yeah. Okay. The line, he keeps repeating this line over and over. So I smacked my table. Is that he is both him and his running mate were both Republican governors in Democratic states.
Right. And that's
that is his tagline. He keeps saying it over and over. 2 Republican governors elected in heavily Democratic states.
Brilliant.
But I think he was even he was the Libertarian candidate last time as well.
Yeah, he was. I remember that. Yeah.
I think this time he has a better chance than ever with
the weak candidates.
Terrible approval ratings. Yeah. But people are always scared of wasting their vote and helping the other side win.
Yeah. I think if it ever gets to the point where looks like he could win, all that sort of negative propaganda towards him will just come out. So he'll struggle. He'll struggle a lot.
Well, I mean, we sort of have it in our heads that third-party candidates are impossible and they can never win.
In America, yeah.
In America, but if you think back, the Bill Clinton versus Bush Senior year, there was a guy called Ross Perot.
He did well, didn't he?
And he did very well. He was at one point the most popular in polls, and then I think ended up with, mid-teeny percentage points.
So he just
15%.
Did he
So actually, even in recent history, it's possible.
I mean, if you go a long way back, there were 4 candidates for presidential elections that were got a lot of the vote and stuff like that. But
again, this is the problem with the voting system, isn't it?
Yeah, the electoral college.
Exactly.
And the way,
which in a way is designed exactly for this sort of reason.
Yeah, and they could just change it.
Not in a way, but it is. That's what it's designed for.
I think they should change it, but why would anyone ever change it if it benefits the person who wins?
Well, I mean, there are real arguments for it because even in the UK, the way the voting system is, it really is set out to be able to form a government almost every time.
Yeah.
Right. So you want, a very it really provides a lot of stability.
The argument's so poor though, because the argument is coalition is weak, single party is strong. But when you have a two-party system, your two parties are very divided, and you've seen this in the UK. Is that the two parties, and you see it all the time in America as well. Like the Republicans who aren't endorsing Donald Trump, but he won the support of the Republican members, and the Labour Party in the UK has the membership who support one thing, and their MPs who support another thing. And it just shows you that when you have two parties, the parties are so broad that they may as well be two parties in coalition. At least within coalition, they can publicly disagree with each other. Whereas in government, in a single party, they can't really do that very easily. So surely it's more stable to have two parties that can publicly disagree.
Well, I disagree with that.
Okay.
Because this year is a bit of an exception for one in the US.
Yeah.
So if you look back, even though, of course, at the time where they won the primaries, all the candidates, Mitt Romney, I guess Obama didn't have a primary then, but they were at the center of their parties, or Romney at least was, have to be at the center of the party to get the primary. And then, you shift to the center for the general election.
Yeah.
And in the end, you do come up with a sort of centrist kind of platform.
But then when it comes to government, you struggle because your representatives in Congress and in the House of Representatives won't be on your side necessarily if you want to have a centrist line, because your guys in actual government in your chambers, in your House of Representatives, won't be on your side all the time, because half of them will want to abolish gun control, and the other ones will want to have no guns at all, and they'll be in the same party. Yeah. So it'll be like,
I think the US is a very bad example as well, because it's just so large that a Republican from the East Coast and a Republican from the Midwest, or a Democrat,
right,
might not have anything in common because the voters are completely different.
No, but you see it in the UK as well. Like the parties, like how can you have it that on such a big issue like European Union membership, one party has two completely different sides who can think complete opposite things, and they're in the same party.
Yeah.
And that just shows you that wouldn't be the case.
But this is on like a very specific issue.
But it's more general as well, because the fact that divide.
If you're talking about Brexit,
yeah, that Brexit issue, right? That issue of whether you wanted to leave or whether you wanted to go when you're in the Conservative Party, it represents a more wider worldview, which is very general and isn't very specific. So if you wanted Brexit, then you have a very different worldview to someone who wants Remain. It's not that you just differ on that issue of Brexit. You differ on a whole range of economic and social views, that from immigration to lots of social policies and to economic policy. So it doesn't.
Well,
it's just.
Would you say that Tory leadership of the past, I don't know how many years, 8 years,
6 years,
6 years, has been particularly flip-floppy?
No, it hasn't. It's been because it's been dominated by a particular wing of that party. So you'd say that the Cameron government was fairly centrist, centre-right, but had it been
long-term economic...
Exactly, that over-repeated phrase represents a very sort of centre-right government, or centre-right government, whereas someone else in the Conservative Party, if they were in charge, would have gone a completely different route. They would have gone for very much a right-wing government. But the reason they weren't...
Well, that's why you have whips. That's what the party whips are.
But often they rebel. And that you saw that in the 1990s government. All I'm saying is that because you have in a two-party system, you will have lots of people who disagree with each other, inevitably. And your option is to either split it, make the system more proportional, and then those people will split into two parties, and then they can more easily disagree with each other and comes together for government, but they can be separate politically. When they're in one political group, it is more difficult for them to express their opinions, and I think that damages democracy rather than aids it.
I mean, fair enough. I agree with that. But the other thing it does, this system, I'm sort of playing devil's advocate.
No, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Is that you do prevent to some extent. Again, it's kind of a bad time because of Trump, but you do prevent populism to some extent.
Yeah, because you have a
Because
monopoly
new
on.
parties that form around single issues, like UKIP, for example, never will have a chance at making government.
Yeah, I see what you're saying by it's a bad time to say that, but like, yes, in general, as a rule of thumb, that is true because you get like, I think in Germany, for example, Hitler's rise never would have happened in the UK simply because of the way the electoral system worked.
Well,
Because Hitler
there's
never.
loads of things that led to the downfall of the Weimar.
This is
Republic.
there's loads of things about
Part
that.
of it part of it that I remember from history class was that they didn't have a limit to how, like, if a party got a certain number of votes, they had to be represented.
Yeah,
So there was a very low limit to
it was like
number of votes you had to get.
You only had to get like
Parliament.
1% or something.
Yes.
So
So that meant that there was so many fractured parties
Yeah.
in the parliament at the time.
So it meant weak government, and it meant that you could grow.
Loads of anti-democratic parties.
You could grow from a small base, and then you could just keep growing from.
Exactly.
From that.
So nowadays we have the 5% rule.
Yeah, which
Because even now the constitution, or that, let's say, constitution that we have now is largely based on the one from the Weimar Republic. But that was one of the big changes that they did make.
I think yeah, exactly. So you can definitely
Again,
say
that would be even less the case that you have small parties if you had the first past the post.
yeah, exactly. And so there is that argument that can be made. So there you go. We'll just have to see what happens in the US election. But I think it looks like Clinton's going to win and Donald Trump's going to be very embarrassed.
Well, again, we've had. I mean, this is the big thing, is that he's made a bit of a pivot finally, like a month too late, to being a bit more center. So he's got a new staff, pretty much, that is less extreme, except for the one guy he's like the head of a neo-right, neocon, I think is the name, Breitbart news organization.
Ah, yes.
But I think he's gotten some more people on that are more tempered, and he's in the new speeches he's making are a bit more from teleprompter than before.
Yeah. More on script.
So he's getting a bit more scripted, a bit more
Less off the cuff.
less off the cuff. I wouldn't be so confident. The big advantage I think that Clinton has is that she has more money and she has more ground game, I think is what they call it. So that she has more people doing campaigns on a grassroots level than Donald.
So you're saying she has more enthused supporters that are willing to,
No, I think Donald Trump has more enthused supporters.
but are actually willing to go
Hillary
out there.
Clinton has the infrastructure.
Yeah, okay.
She has like offices in every state that are doing stuff. She's doing the math, statistics about what demographic she needs to appeal to.
Yeah.
She's like that straight politician. I mean, she'll say anything, and I think that will really help.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So that's going to be a big advantage for her.
So yeah, I think if you look at do you know 538, like Nate Silver?
Yes, I know that website. Yes.
Yes. So I mean, if you look at their like sort of percentages, like who's going to win, I mean, Hillary Clinton is still way ahead. But I don't think you should underestimate. I mean, everybody thought with Brexit that Remain would win based on the polls, and that didn't happen.
But to be fair,
So
with that,
I wouldn't get too cocky.
that was a bit different because the polls didn't say Remain would win. It was said it was even pretty much because each one was like 52-48 or 51-49. So,
Yeah.
and polls have a margin of error of I think like 3%. So, as soon as it gets within 3%, the polls can't call it. Okay then, I think we should end it.
I
there.
don't think we can use any of this conversation.
I think we should end it there, guys. Yeah, hope everyone has a good day.
Yeah, we need to figure out a way to end the podcast. I think it's better to just sort of cut it at some point, maybe.
Definitely, we'll do that.
Cut.
Bye, everyone. Okay, are we do 3, 2, 1 pause?
Well, I don't think it matters when we stop, does it?
Okay, it's fine. We're synchronized. We're live. Oh, for fuck.